Do you think there's any eating disorder left in you or any anxiety about food? No. Hi warriors, and welcome back to another video. I feel like I haven't recorded anything in absolute ages, which is probably true because I've been super busy with exam prep. But guess what? I'm getting all itchy to record again, so here I am, answering all of your questions. On my Instagram, I did say that I was going to go and look through all the questions I got in order to pick the most popular ones. Well, I haven't. Excuse me for being a mess, but I'm just going to look through them now and provide a brief response to all of them. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave me some love in the comment section below. And to everyone that does still have exams, like me, best of luck. So the first question I received has to do with compulsive movements such as walking, standing, and how to distract yourself between meals. So I guess that covers two topics. The first one has to do with excessive exercise, and this is something that I did also experience myself. We used to have a treadmill at home, which wasn't great. I guess that was my favorite way to burn energy, but there was no way to reduce this amount of exercise and make it okay. The only thing that did work for me was just to stop doing it altogether. So all throughout my recovery, I didn't do any kind of exercise at all, and just this cold turkey approach really helped with my mindset, because I learned that even when I stopped exercising, I wasn't just going to gain loads and loads of weight at once. I wasn't becoming super unhealthy and the world didn't explode. So in terms of compulsive exercise, I really recommend just taking the leap and stopping with the exercise altogether, because for me that was a lifesaver. In terms of distracting yourself between meals, I've got loads of videos on that already, but I like to watch movies, read books, go for a little walk, not compulsively, play games with family. There's just so many things, hobbies that you can get involved with that can really help distract you and also just help you find a new purpose in life, which is really important. Heather Bell Rose asked me, do you listen to podcasts? And if so, do you have any good ones to recommend? Oh, I do listen to a lot of podcasts, so every day when I go to uni, I will listen to a podcast, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any right now. I'll have a little scroll through my phone and put my recommendations up there. Unfortunately, I can't right now because my camera's at university, so I'm recording with my phone. Apologies for the quality. And I like the question because I'm really into podcasts right now. And I think they're also a great way to distract yourself between meals. Ooh, Josie. She asked, how do you know if your preferences and dislikes for certain foods are eating disorder driven or genuine? That is a tricky one. I myself found that really difficult to determine, and I think deep within yourself you probably do know the answer of which foods you like, but you might not want to admit it to yourself, so it's really important to really be honest with yourself. Also, if you really have no idea, if you've suffered with an eating disorder for a long time, then try to incorporate the foods that you know you used to like before your eating disorder. And anyway, even if you don't like certain foods, I think it's crucial just to try out different things, include all sorts of fear foods in your diet to overcome them, and sort of relearn which things you enjoy and which things you might not enjoy as much. Betty asked, what is one mission you have for this year? Again, a difficult question, because I actually wrote some New Year's resolutions this year, and they're super long. So I really want to improve my languages, for example, and become a little bit more mindful, so a bit less stressed about work. But my main mission... I guess the one that fits with this channel most is that I am planning to put out a lot more content to really grow this channel, and I think right now we're at 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers. We will definitely, hopefully, pass 20,000. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please do, because I need it. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Eos asked, as the climate crisis gets worse within the minute, how do you think about consuming exotic fruits and nuts that are grown and shipped throughout the world? How do you personally try to be more eco-friendly in your daily life? Any tips? Damn, you guys, you have got so many good questions, and I'm loving this, especially this question. Yeah. I don't tend to shop at supermarkets. I do sometimes, obviously, for the necessities like pasta, rice, milk, etc. But when I go for my fruit and vegetables, I will go to a local market. So just like a little stand that sells seasonal produce and a range of different fruits and vegetables that I then just pluck off the table and put directly in my bag, so that I also do not use as much unnecessary plastic. So for me that's really important. It's about a 10-minute cycle ride from where I live this year, so that's really convenient. That's definitely something I do. I tend to buy in season, not always, but I try to pay attention to that. And I try to educate myself as much as possible about which foods might be more eco-friendly and which might not, but at the same time I don't stress myself out about it. I always want to do everything too perfectly almost, and that's not healthy, so I try not to focus on it too much. But yeah, definitely in season, local, plastic free. And when I visit my family in Spain, I eat loads of oranges, loads of lemons, and loads of avocados, because we've got our own trees in the garden and we just have loads of these things and it's perfect. So yeah, if I could, I'd just have my own little vegetable garden, but as a student that might not be as practical yet, so maybe after university. Kate asked a very general question. So, getting started in recovery from day one, highs and lows. I think there's too many to count. From day one, it was just, first off, finding the motivation to recover, because I really did not have it. Then finding the strength to recover. Then coming up with the reasons to recover. Overcoming the reasons not to recover. It was just such a difficult process. And actually yesterday I stumbled upon some recordings on my phone, some evaluations that I got when I was in hospital in Belgium, and I was actually quite difficult to listen to, especially my responses, which weren't many because I was quite closed off. But I feel like I was always in a bit of a victim mode, and really I should have been much more proactive about my recovery, but I just didn't feel able to, and I also wasn't able to admit this to myself. So there was many things that I told myself that I honestly believed were true, but I don't think I was open with myself or with other people. And that was probably my biggest challenge, my biggest low. In terms of events, my biggest low was probably when I got some tests and some results back. They were really pretty grim. People thought I was gonna die. Everyone was crying. I was crying. I was put in an isolation area in hospital, and it was just... It was horrible, and sadly enough, that's not the point that I decided I wanted to recover, because at that point I was still too caught up in my eating disorder. In terms of highs, there are also so many highs. So leaving hospital in Belgium, I felt like a new person. Just going to university now, having a boyfriend, friends, being able to socialize, there's so many good things to look forward to, and they do definitely outweigh the lows. The next question is from Mo. Could you talk about bone health? Do you have osteoporosis, or were you able to reverse it? I do not have osteoporosis, but it is common if you've had an eating disorder for a long time, or if you've lost your period. I do talk about this in another video, so I will link directly to that. I do think that I've got some good information in that video, so if you're concerned about this, definitely check that out. Then Margot asked how to be able to eat larger portions. Basically, you start with whatever you eat right now and try to increase it every day. But obviously, that's difficult if the eating disorder is shouting at you. So really try to oppose the eating disorder at every meal. Challenge it, challenge your fears, and it's only by challenging them and just doing it anyway that you will overcome the fear of certain foods or certain portions, and that you'll be able to eat normal portions and all the food again in your recovery, and that provides such an incredible freedom. The next question is from Hanne. What surprised you positively about your recovery? Yeah, basically when I started my recovery, I did it because my family was worried. I didn't really do it because I thought I needed it for myself. What surprised me positively is that when I started to recover, I actually started to feel much better in myself and about myself, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought, well, I'll just recover so my family won't be worried. But almost as a side effect, I became so much happier and also more comfortable in my body. I got a sense of humor. I have got a sense of purpose, and back when I was struggling with my eating disorder, I didn't have either. I was just stuck in my own world, and everything about it was just horrible. And that's just not the way my life is right now. Everything's so much more exciting, and that's what definitely positively surprised me about recovery. The next question is by Medita. My favorite movies? I really like a lot of movies, but my absolute favorite is probably, and you won't have heard of this. If you have heard of this film, let me know below. And if you haven't, go watch it. But my favorite movie is probably K-Pax. It's basically about an alien, but saying that, it just sounds horrible. It isn't really. Just find out for yourself. I promise you it's worth it. The next question is from Chloe. She's asking me about hunger and fullness cues and how she can increase her portions if she's always feeling full. I do talk about this in a lot of other videos, so I highly suggest that you check out some of the other videos on my channel. But briefly, you just have to push yourself. You will be uncomfortable initially because your body's just not used to eating these portions. It's used to restriction now, and it's going to take a bit of time to stretch. So yeah, you're going to have to push yourself a little bit. It will be uncomfortable, but over time you'll be able to eat regular portions and have regular hunger cues and be able to trust these hunger cues again. So it's definitely worth doing. The next question is by Eden. Do you think there's any eating disorder left in you or any anxiety about food? No, I don't think so. There's definitely still anxiety, but not about food. I think I am maybe a little bit perfectionistic in the work that I do on YouTube, in terms of my writing, in terms of my university goals. But I don't know, I think everyone does have some personal work that they need to do, and character traits that they might want to work on, so I don't think it's problematic, and there's definitely no more anxiety around food. In fact, I'm getting a little bit peckish, so after recording this video, I'll probably go and have some crackers with peanut butter, or wherever else I fancy, and not feel guilty about it. I know that during my recovery, when people were arguing about whether full recovery is possible or not, that always got me really worried, because I thought, great, it's something that I'll have to learn to manage or deal with, and I can tell you that it's not. I had an eating disorder pretty much for the past decade. Looking back on this decade, it was great. But I do not have any of the eating disorder thoughts that I used to have. And it is possible to reach full recovery. If you're still having the thoughts, keep going, keep eating, you can get there. How did you get to the point of wanting to change your eating disorder? I've had mine for 5.5 years with no change. Okay, by the time I decided to change, I had had my eating disorder probably for a bit longer than that. So, yeah, initially I thought, why not give it a go? If life is horrible without an eating disorder, I can always go back to life with an eating disorder. So, restricting is easy enough. I decided to jump into the deep end and to see what it was like, and guess what? I ended up enjoying it. So, initially I wasn't able to do this on my own, so I went into hospital. I let them help me and was then able to carry that on for myself. Next question is by Charlotte. Have you lost your period and did you gain it back? I actually started my eating disorder when I was about 13 years old, and everyone in my family was a bit of a late bloomer, so I had never had my period. I only ever had my first period when I was almost 21 years old, so just a few years ago when I moved to university. It was actually my second year of university, and since then I have not lost it. It is not super regular, but it's there, so yeah. Joey asks how to not be scared of weight gain. There's no way necessarily not to be scared, but accept that you're scared and eat anyway. Gain the weight anyway, and over time it will get so much easier. Next one is by Ju. Have you dealt with intestinal pain, bloating, constipation during recovery, and any tips on how to deal with them? I actually have 3 or 4 videos on that on my channel, which really go into detail on that, so I will link them up there. I will link them in the description. Do check them out because I think they're very comprehensive. Okay, so Katarina's asking, I need to gain weight, fat and muscle, but if I don't lift, it would only be fat, so should I go to the gym? First off, if you gain weight, you will gain both fat and muscle. It is true that initially it will be mainly fat, because your body will want to protect your organs especially, but you will also gain muscle, especially later on in the weight gaining process. So there's really no need to lift weights, and initially in recovery, or during most of recovery, it can actually be quite dangerous. So gain weight however you can, and that will be the most beneficial thing you can do for your health and for your body. Sophie asks, were you also super exhausted and hungry when you started eating more? Yes. When I went into intensive care in Hungary, when I first started eating more, I used to go to bed right after dinner, so I was probably in bed at like 6 at night. Probably slept until 6 the next morning. Not every day, it was very variable, but I was sleeping the day away. I was so damn tired, and that was my body telling me, take a step back, let me do my thing, let me let me heal your body, and that's something you have to accept, but it is something that will pass with time if you keep nourishing yourself. The next question, do macros and the time you eat matter? They matter to some extent. You need carbs, fats, protein, you need all of them. You can't just go on one or whatever. But I don't think there's a need to be super focused on them. In fact, that can be quite unhealthy. Meal timing, personally, I don't think is that important. I like to spread out my meals and preferably not eat right before bed. Although lately I have been doing that a bit more just because it helps me sleep and it helps me get in all the food that I want and I need. But yeah, I don't think there's any need to be super focused or strict about any food rules that you might have. Someone asked whether I know what Tim Tams are, but I have no idea. Next question. I can't digest some of the foods that I used to be able to, such as milk. Will this be something that will stick with me forever? It won't. There's actually such a thing as secondary lactose intolerance, so people with an eating disorder might develop an intolerance of sorts to milk products or other products. Basically, you haven't had to digest so many different things during your recovery while you were restricting that some of the enzymes are just not being created anymore by your body, and it might take some time for your body to start creating it again, but it is only temporary, so you will be able to eat these foods again. Did you ever feel the urge to make yourself throw up after eating in recovery, and how to prevent this? I definitely I sort of felt the urge to do that, but I never went through with it because I knew that that would just push me deeper into that spiral. But I think distraction is key. Keep your goals in mind. Why are you recovering? And eat your meals and then distract yourself. So play some games with the family, watch a film, read a book, try to stay busy, and yeah, tell yourself why you're doing this. I know that is really difficult, but I think that's the way forward. If anyone else has any more tips, then please share them below. Okay, the next one's by Lulu. Have you found it difficult, or have you thought, I've eaten too much when finishing the meal that you initially cooked for dinner and the one that you had intended for lunch tomorrow? Yes, and that does happen a fair amount. I'll cook a lot of food thinking it's gonna last me at least another meal, hopefully maybe 2 meals, and then I end up just eating it all. It happens, but it happens to everyone. Everyone overeats at some point or another, and the important thing is to not beat yourself up over it. Distract yourself, do something else, and the discomfort will pass, and now it's not as much of a problem, and if it does happen, it's not as big a deal because I don't really care. It just means that the food was nice and I enjoyed it, and I don't know, it's part of life. It means I might just have to lie down a bit after a meal, and that is okay. So I think that answers all of the questions I got. There was quite a few. If your answers have not been questioned, if your questions have not been answered, then leave them below. I might be able to get to them in a future video. Let me know if there's any other content that you'd like to see in the new year, and I will see you guys again very shortly, because next week I'll have finished my exams and I'll be free. Anyway, take care, good luck with exams, good luck with everything, and see you soon. Bye!